Hello and welcome to Spotlight, a little beacon of brightness for the new year.
Spotlight, brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council.
This evening, in the first Spotlight of 2025, we catch up with a local woman who is following in the footsteps of giants performing at the Cambridge Footlights. We have a chat with the pun legend himself, Milton Jones, appearing on a stage near you next month. And catch up with what's going on at the Isle of Man Arts Council as it prepares to celebrate an important anniversary. Remember, do get in touch with any creative artistic endeavours you might be involved in, planning, hoping to create, or would really like to, you know it, put in the spotlight. Poetic, theatrical, musical, ceramic, literary, sculpture, drag, film, mime, social media, punk, all the others. Email spotlight@manxradio.com or me directly, Howard Kane with an E at manxradio.com. I read them both. Love to hear from you. Make it your New Year's resolution to get in touch and we will feature your art. So, pick almost any well-known British comic icon over the last, 50 years. Eric Idle, Stephen Fry, Hugh Laurie, David Mitchell, Emma Thompson, Mel Giedroyc. The list goes on. Chances are they will be an alumni of the Cambridge Footlights, a student sketch comedy theatre company run by the students of Cambridge University and one of the oldest student sketch comedy troupes in Britain, having been founded in 1883, would you believe? Performing with this group this spring, however, 2025, will be a name not yet household, albeit the talented family are well known on the island, so she might well be soon. One Annabelle King. Annabelle's dad is Clerk of Timble, Jonathan King. Her brother, William King, been a freelance journalist and presenter at Manx Radio for many years, currently working for the BBC, whoever they are, in London. Annabelle is currently studying music at Cambridge, and I should say has enjoyed Arts Council assistance for her studies as well. She also has a passion for performing comedy, which is why she's at the Footlights. Well, I caught up with her whilst she was on the island over Christmas, and I asked her first about her musical studies at Cambridge.
I have done a lot of different genres of music at Cambridge so far, and before that. So, I mean, I don't know what... It's quite a nice problem to have because I have a lot of choice in terms of what I want to go into, but I can't really choose at the moment because I've done so many different things and so many non-musical things as well, when I haven't been doing my degree.
And so, music, do you have a particular favourite genre? I mean, your own music you listen to. I mean, do you listen to sort of classical, jazz, folk, rock, anything? All of them?
Well, my foundation is certainly classical piano music, and that was my first introduction to music and the thing I sort of trained in. But since studying a music degree, I've come to enjoy lots and lots of different types of music, like opera, which I hadn't really, listened to or done much of before I got to university. I like a bit of GNS as well.
Nothing wrong with that.
I like musical theatre. I've actually MD'd some musical theatre shows at university, so that's been a really cool experience. So similarly, lots of different genres, yeah.
And you sing with the choir, do you say?
I sing with the choir of Trinity College, which is incredible because the chapel in that college is such a beautiful place to sing.
A lot of recordings from there, is that right?
Yeah. We're actually doing one later this year. Don't ask me what it is because I don't know.
Christmas carols, must be.
No, I literally don't know. But yeah. So I sing with them. I've sung a little bit of opera. I've played the piano in lots of different contexts in Cambridge, and I also do comedy as well. So.
Well, yeah, I was just coming to that. So yes, you do. So when you say you do comedy, is this comedy acting, stand-up, what sort?
Well, my first comedy thing I did was acting because I was in a student-written comedy musical at the Edinburgh Fringe this summer just gone, and then from that I started doing some stand-up, which I started doing in term, and obviously Cambridge is a great place to try and do that because there's the Cambridge Footlights, which are still there and thriving. So I've now joined the Footlights, and I'm going to be in the Spring Review in February, which is their annual showcase of the graduating Footlights, because I am graduating.
Which is amazing, really, because you think, I was saying before, so a who's who of any of the big names in British comedy. The vast bulk of them have come through Cambridge Footlights. I mean, just off the top of my head, I'm thinking John Cleese back in the 60s, Stephen Fry in the sort of 70s or something. I think I read quite recently that Richard Ayoade is also a Footlights man. So you're treading in the footsteps of giants there, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because it's very hard to conceptualise that. Because to me, I'm just sort of, trying out some comedy, and I just so happen to be in Cambridge for that. So I'm now doing it with the Cambridge Footlights. But yeah, and then you think, oh wow, like the Cambridge Footlights has produced a lot of these huge names, like Mel and Sue as well, who I really like, I think. But yeah, so that is a cool feeling, to be at least treading in some of the same sort of areas and stages as these amazing stars from the past.
And how would you describe your stand-up?
That's really hard to say. I don't know. I've actually not been asked that before because I am so new to it, really, like relatively speaking. But I guess I behave with a level of sort of feigned reluctance to like standing on the stage sort of by accident, like as if I have sort of found myself there, and because that's apparently people have told me that I sometimes look a bit like I'm not paying attention to what they're saying to me, and like that has sort of driven a lot of the comedy that I've written, because so many people have told me that I look distracted. So yeah, in real life. So I've sort of put that into this pretend persona I do on stage.
And have you do you feel you've based yourself on any particular favourite comic that you might have enjoyed over the years?
I would love to say that I have based myself on Miranda, but I don't really know if what I actually do is similar to her. I guess it is kind of. She's a slightly more slapstick, and obviously her show's a sitcom rather than stand-up, but she is definitely my absolute favourite comedian ever, / celebrity / just everything. I got a hoodie for Christmas that says "Bear with" on it.
Have you ever met her?
No, that would be, I don't think I would have anything. I would be starstruck. I think that's one of those don't meet your heroes things, because I think I would very much embarrass myself. Anyone that knows me knows I love her a lot.
And you're right, she does have that sort of slight, when you see her, that sort of slight reluctance, sort of fey, or slightly surprised to be there look about it, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Well, she plays to that a lot, I think, when she's doing some of her shows.
Yeah.
And so, do you see the comedy at the moment as something as a, you're at Cambridge, you've got the Footlights there, let's give it a whiz? Is it something you feel you'd like to develop a bit further, or...?
Yeah, I'm 100%. I mean, may as well be optimistic about it. Yeah, I mean, and also with stand-up, it's actually quite similar to the piano, which I grew up doing, where like I'm the master of my destiny, so I can decide how much of it I do or how much time I put into it, because it's just me, and I actually really like that about it. I think sometimes doing productions is rewarding in a different way, because there is something to be said about like working together as a team with people and coming up with something great, but when you're on your own you don't have to worry about anyone else, and I quite like that. And certainly in terms of going beyond the university sphere, it's a nightmare to start trying to meet up with people and coordinate schedules with people, but when it's just me, I can think, yeah, I'll go and try and perform at that place or whatever, or it's my decision, and I'm not letting anyone down by taking a break from it, and I'm not affecting anyone else by really going for it if that's what I choose to do, if that makes sense.
It does, yes. But on the other hand, whilst notwithstanding what you said, of course, equally you're totally exposed. You're on your own. There's no backup there.
Yeah.
If you start your routine and it's tumbleweed going on, there's no sort of cavalry to come to your rescue.
Yeah, that's true.
A bit nerve-wracking.
I mean, obviously it's nerve-wracking, and people always have been saying to me, "Oh, I could never do that. Like, how do you not get nervous?" And I say, well, it is exactly how you would feel if you were told, okay, go up and try and make people laugh for 5 minutes. It's not less nerve-wracking than that. It is as scary as it sounds, but it's also the level of reward I feel when I can make people laugh is so much more than it would be on my own. So much more than it would be in a group, because it's well, that definitely came from me. But yeah, so it's sort of high stakes, but in the best way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what wins out, or are they equal loves then, the comedy and the music?
Well, I don't think there's any point sort of comparing them. I've obviously done music my whole life. I'm studying music, and the reason I've ever got involved with comedy really in Cambridge is because I was in a musical, and I was in a musical because I had been MDing a lot of musicals, and I'd been MDing musicals because I play the piano and I'm studying music. So it all really does go back to music in terms of the chronology of why I now do comedy. But comedy is a very new thing, so it's impossible to compare because I wasn't doing this when I was 12 in the way I was with music. But I think it's nice to have varieties of things that you do in your spare time. Maybe I have a few too many, but yeah, I think it's nice, and I don't think there's any point trying to choose, because you can choose both.
And the review is, and I think you said February, was it? Runs about a week?
Yeah, it's from the 25th of February to the 1st of March at the AGC in Cambridge, which is the main theatre where all the student productions happen.
And can anyone go along, can they?
Yeah, you can if you want to come. It's at 7:30 from the 25th of February to the 1st of March. Yeah, and that is a sketch show, so that is with all the other graduating footlights, so not stand-up, but I'm really looking forward to that because I like sketches too, and that's, they're fun in another way, because you can be very clever and do sort of puns rather than just telling a story, which is more what stand-up is.
Well, listen, break a leg, as they say.
Thank you.
Hope it goes well. We hope to hear more from you. We hope to hear great things happening one way or another at the next Miranda, maybe.
Oh, that would be an absolute honour.
Why
you.
not? Thanks ever so much for talking to us, and speak again, maybe.
Thank you.
And who knows, I could easily see Annabelle becoming the next Miranda. Why not? Watch this space.
I own a small zoo and a pirate ship. Although not at the same time. I haven't got that much Lego. I was sitting in traffic today and I got run over. Tell me, does anyone here own a cat? Your houses stink. I always remember my mother saying, "You can eat the leftovers in the fridge." I almost froze to death. "Finish your green," she'd shout, until I'd eaten nearly all my felt pens. My sister was to be known as Olive, but when they came to register the name, the pen stopped working briefly, and from then on she had to be known as Clive.
The inimitable star of stage, screen and radio, Milton Jones. And if you're a fan of Milton's, there's good news. As you probably know, he's due to bring his latest show, Milton, to the Isle of Man next month, February. Get your tickets now if you haven't already. I grabbed a word with him down the line just before Christmas and began by asking him about the title of his latest show he's bringing to the Gaiety Theatre. Was it Milton or Milton?
Well, I think it's more like the first than the second, in that I think if we go too close to the actual hip-hop musical, we might be in trouble. So it's definitely got an exclamation mark after the ha. So I pronounce it Milton.
Milton. We'll go with that. And you've referenced it's one of the few hip hop musicals I've actually seen. I don't know how many hip hop musicals there are, but what are we in Milton then? Is it? Are we talking hip hop? What are we actually talking with this?
Oh no, we're talking the exact opposite. On the blurb, it says, "This is not a musical. Milton Jones is tone deaf and he has no sense of rhythm, but at least he doesn't make a song and dance about it."
I can't believe that's true.
Well, you should see. Literally, I am tone deaf, but it is about my musical journey, which is a catalogue of failures, needless to say. Starting off as a 5-year-old in a nativity play as Angel A, or as the other children call me, Angela, and then I forget all my words, but fortunately I've got a crib sheet in the manger. And I mean, it's all sorts of other nonsense as well. I mean, I get through about 200, 250 jokes. It's not going to change anyone's political opinion about anything. But if you like nonsense, and it's quite accessible to most people, family even, then it's the show for you.
Well, you know what? We could probably do with more nonsense in the world these days, couldn't we?
Well, it's quite difficult to tell the serious nonsense from the real nonsense, actually. But yes, no, absolutely. This is escapism, getting away from all the dark, gloomy winter depression that there is about. So, yes, there's music. I mean, not that I sing in tune or anything, props, animation, and lots of jokes, topical jokes. The Russians are infiltrating everything. Even the instructions to my cottage pie last night said Putin microwave, etc., etc.
And you do, even though by your own admission you might be a bit on the tone deaf side, you are actually singing in this.
Well, it's a bit of a giveaway, but yes, at the end I attempt to song, and well, music might be pushing it a bit, but I bring the whole show together in one big finale with pictures as well, and a giant hat, which is also a samosa.
Now, you mentioned you go through a lot of material there, and I mean, I take it there's like months and months of work of, do you actually have to sit down and sort of scan all this out, think up all these wacky, because it's all pun driven in so many ways. I mean, are you like Ken Dodd? Do you have books upon book upon book of sort of puns?
Files upon files in a computer, yes. And I mean, it's not all puns. Some of it's visual, and some of it's longer than others. I've tried to do some longer jokes this time. So there's an element of Shaggy Dog in some of it, and just surprise nonsense. But yes, it takes me about 18 months to 2 years to get a new show together. And then it needs to all be in the right order so that similar jokes are away from each other, that they're not too many one-liners that are very quick in a row. Otherwise, you see blood coming out of people's ears because it's too much information. It needs to get bigger as well as you go along, so that it's you stop people sort of receding. You can, if you do more than 15 minutes of one-liners in a row, you can feel people just zoning out slightly. So you have to then talk to them directly, get them involved in some way, show them some pictures, play them some music, whatever it is. But the whole thing hangs together as a show, I think.
And you're right, I think if you do, particularly with your style, well, like I said, it's zany, it's surreal, it's usually really rapid fire as well. But you're right, I guess, if people sort of get that sort of machine gun effect for too long, they actually can't take it in after a while. You start running ahead of how quickly they can process the humour.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you've got to build some punctuation into the show, which I think is what I do. A bit of narrative. I've got pictures that I've drawn that go up. I say I'm using artificial intelligence, but it's actually an overhead projector, if you remember those.
Yeah, we got them.
Oh, yes. A big, they've just come to the Isle of Man. No, with acetates and, all that old retro feel. So I think you either go high tech or low tech, and I'm not going high tech.
Where did this love of puns come from? Because I've always quite liked a good pun, but they sort of became a bit out of fashion for a while, and you brought them right back into the mainstream and made them sort of super trendy again, really popular. I mean, hugely popular with your shows, your radio appearances, TV, all the rest of it. Where did your love of puns first come from?
I think I had a strange obsession with words when I was younger. And wasn't even that I loved them. I just thought they were just strange, that the sounds they made and also the pictures they made with the letters as well. I think there's a scientific name for that, but I can't remember it. So I was always interested in that. And people like me and Tim Vine and Gary Delaney, we've always done that same sort of thing. But it's sort of comedy has fashions, and sometimes things come back. The wordplay is fashionable, and then it isn't for a bit, and then it is, and then it's people improvising a bit, and then So we just kept going through all those years, and sometimes we're in fashion, and sometimes we're not. But we're pretty much doing the similar sort of thing.
And speaking about lots of writing, you're saying the months actually it takes to write a stage show, but the work you've been doing with Milton coming up. And I was also reading, I think it's 15th series for the BBC. I couldn't believe that one, the 15th. I know it'd been a wee while, but the 15th series?
Yeah, no, we've done that many, and that is a lot of jokes. I've been doing them since 1998, so yeah, no, very lucky to be able to do that on Radio 4 from time to time. We're waiting to see if we've got any more, but yes, that because you don't just write half an hour, you write 40 minutes and then edit it down. So 6 episodes is a lot of work. Fortunately, I have good help from James Carey and Dan Evans. And yes, it's fun to do, and we get really good actors to do it. But yes, it is quite a lot of work.
And and they're not just sort of just one-liners and puns. It's not like a stand-up. That is sort of it's a storyline. It's a narrative. It's built into a plot line with Milton as the central. Usually, I was going to say fall guy, but it usually comes out sort of all right one way or another by the end of it. But yeah, it's got a theme to each one as well, which I suppose makes it an extra level of work as well, really.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's another angle to go at in that you can bring in guest characters and knock them off or bring them back, and you can go sideways and what would happen if this happened, etc. But the other thing I like about it is it's a different kind of audience in that it's people making their supper or listening in the car, or you get children listening and all sorts. So it's a nice audience to try and reach.
The puns come so thick and fast, sometimes it's difficult to keep up. I missed a few just in that interview. If you love all things silly and punny, it's the show for you. But you probably know that already if you're a Milton Jones fan. Milton is at the Gaiety Theatre on the 19th of February. Tickets are available via villagaiety.com.
Spotlight, brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council.
Just time for a catch-up with our friends at the Isle of Man Arts Council as we head into the new year. A very special year as it's their 60th anniversary. Much more about that next week and through the year. In the meantime, Arts Development Manager Jane Corkle told me more about some funding rounds which are fast approaching.
Currently, we've got our extraordinary events funding, which is a special fund for this year only, which the current round for that closes next Friday.
I was going to say, yes, that's the 17th, I think, isn't it? That's been running for some time. And that is, as you say, to help celebrate the 60th anniversary. Has there been a good response to that thus far?
So the Extraordinary Events Fund is a fund of £100,000, which the council have ring-fenced for this particular fund. And the idea is to allow people to take a bit of a chance and do something different. So they're looking for events that haven't happened before on the island, events that have to have a live audience or live engagement, so people have to come and take part in the event. And we're hoping that people are going to sort of challenge the norms a bit in what they would perhaps look to do. So we've already done one funding round, and we had some really interesting proposals there, and there are 5 recipients have come out of that particular funding round. So we're on to the next one and the final round, which closes next Friday.
And then also, sort of just a little bit later, is the sort of next round of, if I can term it, standard funding. Yeah,
so I'll call it, let's say, standard general funding round. So that's the usual sort of people that are just doing perhaps events that have already been funded in the past, or underwriting for ticketed events, or people are wanting to do some recording or publish books, etc., etc. There's more sort of general funding that people come to us for. That funding round closes on Valentine's Day. That's easy for me to remember, isn't it? 14th of February. That one closes.
Very appropriate. And just very immediately talking here today on the, what is it, the 8th of January, yes. And there was, I think, a meeting for this evening that's been postponed.
Yes. So we were due to be down at the Air and Arts tonight between 6 and 8. It's really a sort of a meet the team. So come along, have a chat to myself and some of the other arts team members about the funding that we offer, in particular the Extraordinary Events Fund. But unfortunately, there's been a weather warning, so we've taken the decision to postpone this. So it's on next Tuesday evening down at Air and Arts. It's absolutely free. Just pop along between 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock. We've got a small presentation about the Extraordinary Events Fund, if that's the fund you're interested in. But otherwise, you can just come along, have a chat to us if you've got an idea that's burning for 2025 or beyond, that you just think the Arts Council may be able to help you with some funding. Come along, have a chat, and we can put you in the right direction.
Excellent. So that's next Tuesday now, and if you need any help or assistance before that, or want to have a chat, pop on down to headquarters at Villa Marina, or other contact details if people want to find out more.
Yes, so website www.iomarts.com. Just type in Arts Council. That does Isle of Man Arts Council. It's there. We have a Facebook page, Isle of Man Arts Council. We do have a newsletter. So if you go onto the website, you can sign up for that. And we're always looking for people to send us what's on, things like that we can promote and help and support. Or you can ring us up, 694 597, and just email us, carrier pigeon, however you like. We are based down at the Villa Marina Arcade. Pop in and see us and come and have a chat.
That's what we like to hear. Well, a Happy New Year. It looks like it's going to be an exciting year for the Arts Council in its 60th year, and we'll catch up again shortly.
Great.
We'll hear more from Jane about the Council's 60th anniversary next week. Lots of things coming up. We'll feature more through the months ahead. That's about it for this week, though. If you want to hear anything again, go to manxradio.com, download the Spotlight podcast, listen where and when you want. Why not try it whilst trying to remember just what your New Year's resolution was? See you next week, and whatever you're doing, be creative about it. Hey, Mo.